Song of the Wind from Caravanserai, the classic Santana album and a classic Santana track. And we talked about how we got Michael Shrieve on the phone here, the drummer on that particular track, and how it was a huge change for the band. And did the record company ever get used to that, or were you always in big trouble for the next couple of albums?
No, it wasn't selling in the same way as the other albums were, but it did sell. But there were a lot of fans that were unhappy with it as well. But by that point, Carlos and I were pretty much on a certain path, and the people we were looking up to were making. I don't know. We wanted to be a part of the new, not so much the old. So
right, which there's nothing wrong with that. People are still trying to do that. So. Anyway, I believe you guys actually played here in Fort Wayne on that tour. I've heard stories. I was a little young for that at that time, but I've heard stories about how surprised people were. That I remember stories about how Carlos came out and asked for a moment of silence, and then you just played for an hour and a half, and that was that. There wasn't any breaks between songs. And was that a conscious decision to go right from song to song? Was that as far as improvisation, and was it a group thing? I mean, you were picking up new players and so on like that. Was it something that was this a new idea, or did you get that from somewhere else?
Oh, well, I'm sure we got it from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a matter of creating transitions between the tunes so that it felt like a flow, and that the whole set would become like one musical piece.
Well, I think that's brilliant. I mean, the whole idea of here's a song, now you clap, here's a song, now you clap, that whole thing, you guys kind of streamlined all that, and I thought that was pretty amazing. You can hear an example of that on Lotus,
exactly,
which we're going to play in a second here. But let's talk about the next album. So you've got the idea now, and now it's time to expand on that idea, and the next album was called Welcome. And the first big difference is that the first four albums were very, very, very colorful-looking albums, especially Abraxas with the Monte Claire wine painting, and Santana 3. And then Welcome was just a white album cover. Were you trying to make a statement with that, or?
Well, I think you try to make a statement with every album cover.
Right.
Clarity, and it just seemed, to have a feeling about it that was reflective of a clean slate.
Right.
And the band had changed by definitely. Well, it was already changing in Caravanserai, but we were just getting deeper into this whole other music. I mean, even then we brought in the singer Leon Thomas, who we had heard
right with Pharoah Sanders
records and stuff, and that was kind of an odd choice. But we also had Tom Coster and Richard Kermode, so we had two keyboard players, Tom taking care of the organ stuff and Richard playing really good, like Latin and Brazilian pianos.
I don't know too much about him. I know he played with Janis Joplin, but I don't know too much.
I think he played with Malo as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was around the Bay Area, and he could play the Latin stuff. He was a wonderful player, and so to have those two keyboard players sort of took care of everything in terms of orchestration and keyboard work that needed to be done.
You got a different bass player, Doug.
Dougie Rauch
yeah.
came in, and he was also Caravanserai.
Mm-hmm.
He's a musician who we met in Africa on a trip over there for this film that was being done called Soul to Soul, which is available on DVD, but most people don't know about it. But it was a trip that we made along with Voices of East Harlem was the group that Doug Rauch was with, but it was also Les McCann and Eddie Harris and Wilson Pickett and Ike and Tina Turner.
And this is on DVD?
Yeah, it is.
And it's called Soul to Soul.
Soul to Soul.
Wow.
It came out about 3 or 4 years ago, even though it was done in the 70s.
Is it well done? Are you proud of it?
Yeah. It was really a great trip.
I got to go find that right away.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Cool.
So Dougie's somebody that I met on the side of the stage, and he was like a funk guy.
Mm-hmm. Played with Billy Cobham later, right?
Later played with Billy, we played with John McLaughlin. He was very innovative in terms of his bass playing. I mean, literally, I think Larry Graham and Stanley Clark both took a lot of stuff from him.
Wow.
And Dougie was up on
that had to be pretty cool with something to play with somebody like that.
Yeah, so actually I invited him out to my house, and he stayed with me, and he was very familiar with David Garibaldi, and
Mm-hmm.
and David had also been we had also been living together. David Garibaldi was the drummer of Tower of Power,
Mm-hmm.
and making a lot of noise with the way he was playing. So anyway, that's how we met Dougie.
All right. Well, we're going to play a track from the Welcome album. We'll play "Yours Is the Light." What do we want to know about "Yours Is the Light"? I know you have a different singer on this one.
Yes, it's Flora Purim singing.
Who was with Return to Forever at that time, right? Or had she left already?
Ayrto's wife and wonderful singer, and Richard Kermode and I wrote this, and it's a Brazilian tune, and I was very much into Brazilian music at this time. So for myself, I'm proud of the way I played the drums on it, but I think just everything about it sounds really beautiful. Carlos is playing, the whole band sounds really beautiful.
It's a classic track that we play on the show all the time, so we're happy to play that. Here's "Yours Is the Light" from the album Welcome from 1974, right?
Yeah.
It's 1974.
1973, I think.
73. Okay. We've got Michael Shrieve on the phone. We'll talk to him in a little bit more in just a second. Here's "Yours Is the Light" from Welcome. "Yours Is the Light," the track from Welcome, Santana, from a really terrific album, one of our big favorites here. Now, there was another album that came out that we discussed earlier. The whole live show changed drastically, and that was reflected in an album that was recorded in Japan, correct? It was strictly recorded in Japan, and that was called Lotus.
Yes, yeah.
There's some terrific stuff on YouTube of you doing a drum solo from that period that I'm particularly enamored with. From, I believe it, I can't remember where it's on your MySpace site. Where's that from? That's from that tour, isn't it?
Yes, that's from. Yeah, that was from the Lotus tour. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been Tokyo, actually, the Budokan Theater.
Okay. Well, cool. And tell us about the making of the Lotus album. It was a very unusual band. And
well, it's the same band essentially that was on Welcome.
Right, unbelievable heavyweights. Really, I think that everybody in the band was very heavy. Did everybody get along?
For the most part, yeah.
Good.
I think so. I mean, yeah, we were intense musically, and
I imagine so. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was sort of like, from my personal experience, I think that was kind of the period where the musicianship was at perhaps its best game. I mean, that may not be true for all Santana fans who missed the early music, but I know from my personal playing with that band, I think that was. I'm glad that it was recorded because the band was smoking, and it's reflected in that recording.
Now we're going to play a couple of unusual tracks here. We'll play Mantra into Kyoto, Kyoto. My bad. So, what do you want to tell us about these tracks?
Mantra was sort of a very interesting. It was a groove, a fast groove, but sort of almost a loop with the chord changes going slowly on top. I love this sort of form where the drums are fast, and ferocious, but very light in a way.
Almost like drum and bass music or something like that.
Almost,
current.
Yeah. And then with a circular motion of chord changes on top, where it's almost like trance music to me. And I still love playing like this sort of way, light and fast. And it's always been one of my favorites. It's not complicated or anything. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not complicated, but I love the motion of it, the feel of it. And then that would go into Kyoto, was just the name that I gave my drum solo.
All right.
It must be because it was in Kyoto.
I certainly hope so. Yeah. So, well, we'll go ahead and play that right now. This is from the one of our favorite albums here, Lotus, and we've got Michael Shrieve on the phone. We'll play some Santana here for you from Lotus.